people who have been forced from their homes, people who are losing their lives to terrorism. And it just makes you wonder. And this is something perhaps that no one has an answer to, but I'm hoping that you can actually help us. What would actually drive a person to commit acts of terrorism against another or another group of people?
Okay, thanks for that. There are various indices that lead to a person becoming a terrorist, but they don't become a terrorist in one day. There is this analysis that says every accident happened as a result of series of incidents. So there must have been some incident in the past, which one incident leading to another to now form a man. One of them is the issue of religion. But not only religion, there are other things that lead people to become extremists in one form of or aspect of their social life or the other. In the case of religious terrorism, religious ideology and infiltration of people coming from a background of not well informed about their religion, or a group of separatists who thinks things should be done separately, or who has misinterpreted the religious book they are following. So for instance, now, those who have misinterpreted the aspect of jihad of Islam are one of the people that seems to be giving us religious extremists. It's not only the Muslims that are terrorists. We have Christian terrorists too in other parts of the country. And if we investigate some of the incident happening across Nigeria, in Benue, in Jos too, some of the action of non-Muslims in response to terrorism could also be easily be termed as terrorism. So sometimes terrorism come up as a result of revenge. So you did this for me, and we are going to do this for you too. So it comes in various ways, and it's as a result of things that have not been quickly checked when it started. And that's just to buttress your point on that there are a series of events that could have lead a person, if undeterred or undetected on time, that will lead a person to take up the act of terrorism against another person or another group or another state.
Okay, so let's do a walk back in time to 2009. A certain Mohammed Yusuf, who at the time was seen as the leader of a group of people who have now become what we as Nigerians now know as a terrorist group, Boko Haram. Let's talk about how he moved on from being a person with followers to becoming a terrorist originator, if there's a word like that.
Well, I will want to be careful before ascribing to that, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to jump on the part of the civilian part of things too quickly. I would like to look at things from the governmental point of view.
Okay.
And I want to carefully state that that was one of the incidents that was not handled well, that led to whatever it is we are having today in the area of the terrorist brand called Boko Haram. One of the problems with Nigerian security agencies, which has been our problem for a very long time, beyond 2009 backward, was the issue of extrajudicial killing. We've had it severally. We've had it with police, we've had it with the DSS, we've had it with the army in the past. And I think that was a problem we were not able to summon or take care of quickly, that led to the issue of this Mr. late Yusufu. He was arrested quite all right, and anybody arrested in the history of Nigeria is supposed to be allowed to go through the judicial system. Unfortunately, not allowing that particular individual to go through the judicial system is one of the reasons why we are where we are today in Nigeria. After that, a lot of other things happened, and SARS took place. So as a state, we really need to be careful how we handle the incident of terrorists or group of people. If you ask when we had him, he's a very, very circular person. He was a circular person. He doesn't grow big beard. He wears shirts and tie and everything. And if, as a result of whatever he has done, we were able to prosecute him properly and justice is done or served to him, I don't think we will be where we are today. But unfortunately, when we killed him extrajudicially, a lot of people rose up in sympathy towards him, towards its cause. Even just for killing him extrajudicially alone is enough to give birth to other group of terrorists who will want to, and that's how we had Shekau, whether dead or alive. And we all saw what happened when Shekau became the leader. So handling the leader of an extremist in a very, very careful manner is one of the things we really need to look at now as we're proceeding forward in our efforts to counter terrorism.
All right, thanks for that. Now, earlier you said revenge could sometimes, a person trying to revenge a situation could actually lead to a person taking part in terrorism. Is that a perspective that you would share with regards to Mohammed Yusuf's situation?
100%. That's my, if you look at the level of terrorism we had before 2009, to the level of terrorism we started having after 2010. I'm talking of religious-based terrorism, not the Niger Delta or whatever type of terrorism we're having at other places. You will realize that the escalation of the religious terrorism happened after his death. And I think whoever that wants to fight terrorism today, whoever that is the helm of affair of counterterrorism in Nigeria, really, really needs to look back to study what happened there and try to see how we can prevent it from happening again.
All right, we're speaking with Olatunbosun Abolarinwa. Our conversation today is about promoting global peace on this International Day for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. And I would love for you to be a part of the conversation. So let us know your thoughts. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at smooth981. And the phone line's open as well, so you can give us a ring at any point. The number to call 014489 So still on this issue of terrorism, what would you say are the major drivers? Because sometimes in conversations or just in reflection, a regular person would wonder, why would someone do this to another person? Why would someone align to a cause that is, morally wrong, at least to most other people? There has to be something driving it. And what are these things that continue to drive this terrorism in Nigeria?
All right, the first thing that seems to be driving it is our level of poverty. Poverty in the area of economy, poverty of ideas, poverty in the area of lack of governmental infrastructure to take over the mind of people, poverty in the area of where poverty has driven a large section of the country into abject poverty, that they don't see anything good in the country than to go violence in order to feed themselves. So let me give you a very good example now. In the Middle Belt, as a result of whatever crisis that is going on there, a lot of youth has been displaced. All the youths that are farming in Benue and are surviving through farming are no longer able to farm now. Most of them are now living in the internally displaced persons camp. They cannot go to their farm. Now add 5 years, 10 years to their age and how they are going to survive. We may start looking at another group of terrorists or security infractors coming up from that region. So what happened in the northern part of Nigeria was serious poverty. There was poverty, and people don't see value to their lives anymore. And when that happened, as a Black man, we take to the God we know or the God we don't know very well with our little understanding of that type of God. Some semi and hemi gods comes in form of human and start indoctrinating us. And that's exactly what happened. We have a lot of people we call alumanjaris. That is children that are born and thrown on the street. And people with evil agenda in any religion took advantage of that, took them into a camp, fed them, and told them this is how you are supposed to practice your own religion. Unfortunately, jihad was turned upside down, presented to them in another way, and the result is that we have people who have no value for life, who have no value for the rule of law, who have been born into poverty and have always seen poverty and think that the only way out of poverty is through sword and shedding of innocent blood. And that was exactly what happened that ravaged the whole part of the northern section of Nigeria and now spread into other parts of Nigeria, unfortunately.
All right, thank you for that, Olatunbosun. We're speaking about promoting peace. I see the phone lines buzzing. I see your messages. We'll take them on the other side and continue the conversation as well. It's Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us. Smooth 98.1. Future forward banking means to you. We'll be back on shortly. Or just simply getting service that is designed. Yeah, my earring. We thought you might like all of that and more. That is why we specially created Providence Bank for you to take care of your daily experiences at Providence Bank. We believe that banking should be all about you and your business. Do you use an iPhone? Do you have some space? I want you to do already have a Providence Bank account. When I go on our business concierge on 0700 77684 387. Or email businessconcierge@providencebank.com to switch to a future-forward banking experience. Providence Bank, future-forward banking. Attention. Escape to amazing countries for a minute or for a lifetime. Navigate your way around the world and experience pleasure. Smooth 98.1 brings you Fantastic Voyage on the Casbah, a weekly destination guide on radio to help you make the best of your journey when you travel. Discover interesting places beyond your wildest imagination. Travel the world on Fantastic Voyage here on Smooth 98.1 every Friday from 2 p.m. Wherever the place, don't just Google it, experience it. Providence Bank, future forward banking. You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. It's Zibby here, and we have a guest with us. Our special guest this morning is a security analyst, Olatunbosun Abolarinwa. Thank you so much for being on the show this morning. And let us know your thoughts. 014489981. Let's go onto the phone lines and take a few of these phone calls. Good morning. Good morning. Name and location, please. All right, Ibukun, go ahead.
Yes, very interesting conversation that we're having. And I just like to say that I think, first of all, we have more banditry than terrorism now because normally terrorism has ideals. The fact is that terrorism, you're supposed to use or they use terror to get a point, whether a political point or religious point. Now we just have people doing it for money. People are kidnapping people. People are taking over towns. People are taxing territories, not because they are imposing any ideology on the people, but it's just become a commercial venture. That's one. Secondly, your speaker is very correct. Poverty and lack of education. I remember at one time in the UK, I think it was Cameron that said when they had a lot of immigrants, he made sure that within 2 years, if you're an immigrant in the UK from certain parts of the world, you have to be able to speak English, you have to be able to integrate. And the reason he did for it was because these people come into the country, they don't read, they don't write English, so they only have one narrative. So whatever is told to them, wherever they go to their place of worship, whatever is told to them in their, maybe for lack of a better word, town hall meetings, is what they believe. How are we educating our children? If you see their Awajiris, the way they live, they themselves, they don't have a value for their own lives. So we have basically what we have in Nigeria, we have a lot of kamikazes, people that are ready to die for nothing and are ready to take everything from you. So it's a very dangerous situation where unfortunately, we've allowed poverty to be weaponized and to be used against people. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bukun, for calling and sharing your thoughts. Let's take another phone call. Good morning. Good morning. Name and location, please. Oh, wow. Osa from Abularinwa. Lovely to hear from you. I need you to speak up a bit more, please. Yes, much better. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think they're talking about terrorism because, well, the major solution are that the security list. There's a list of people that are sponsoring insurgents in the country. Where is that list? That is the whole solution. Because we want to have the head of the rest of the body die. It's simple logic. One. Two. I don't know if I can talk about this now, but they are talking about improving farming by technology. The people cannot even go to the farm. They have to go to the farm now. They have to be safe enough to go to the farm. They're killing people in the farm year in, year out. So what is there is all this technology they are going to do has not been done. That's a type of factor. This president had previously, in July when he came into power, knows what I said this same thing. And he's repeating it again. That means nothing is going to be done. He's just said. To me, that's like that. And that's simple. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Osa, for calling and sharing your thoughts. I want to ask this Olatunbosun. The previous caller, Ibukun, he spoke about banditry, right? Having more bandits in Nigeria than terrorists right now. Now, in 2017, IPOB was proscribed as a terrorist group, and then come in the past few years, banditry has really, for some reason, found a footing. In fact, people speak more about bandits than Boko Haram or ISWAP. And it makes you wonder, a lot of the tactics that these bandits use is very similar to the tactics that terrorists would use. So I wonder, are these bandits terrorists?
Oh, that's a very funny and tricky one, but I'll try my best to do justice to it. The first thing we need to get straight is the fact that banditry has always been with us before terrorism. Who is a bandit? A bandit is a person who wants to use violence to dispose you of your possession. We've had them, we call them armed robbers in Nigeria, and we've had our fair share of armed robberies in every other part of Nigeria. The moment where terrorists become bandits happens to be a very, very tricky one where we got it a little bit wrong, going by you linking the definition and their modus operandi to that of terrorists. Now, I will always question the moment where Nigerian as an entity accepted some group of people doing certain things as bandits. I will always stand against that. It was a political maneuver by certain people in order to temper them. Maybe they thought that if they start calling terrorists bandits, everybody would think that they have won the battle against terrorism and now they are dealing with bandits. But unfortunately, it failed woefully. So in my terms, in my professional belief, as a matter of principle, I do not ascribe or nor accept the group of people we're referring to as bandits now. Bandits depose people of their goods. I have checked incidents in the last 7, 8 years, the activities of the bandits, the people we call bandits, they are not stealing anything. Let's go back to the incident of the Dapchi girls. I think that was where Deborah was kidnapped and we don't know where she is today. There was an incident that she escaped from one group of terrorists. We had and another group of terrorists picked her up and sold her back to the people she escaped from. Now that is terrorism, and don't let us try to cover terrorism up because some people want to use it to have a political gain. The so-called people we call bandits today, I don't see them as bandits. If we look at the telltale signal of their activities, they are terrorists. And I think the idea of calling them bandits is just a name change, strategic name changing or strategic rebranding to suit the purpose of certain group of people, and it is very, very unfortunate.
How do you think the government has done so far in understanding this problem of terrorism, addressing it, handling it, and possibly even curbing it? Where do you think we are?
Well, let's assume that we want to take a journey of 10 miles. I will
The number to call is 014489 You can also send a message via WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. Our guest this morning is Olatunbosun Abolarinwa, and we're speaking about promoting global peace on this International Day for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. So let us know your thoughts. 014489 That's the number to call. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. And of course, you can also tweet at Smooth981. Olatunbosun, are you back with us? Okay, we're having a few connectivity challenges, but we're going to sort that out. And while we try to get our guest back with us, I just want to reel out some facts of terrorism here in Nigeria. Now, among other insurgent attacks, Boko Haram has in some way committed some of the most heinous crimes, including abducting children from schools. The case of Chibok, Dapchi, Kankara, this has gone on and on and on. Now, in fact, in several areas in the Northeast and across the country, parents are terrified of sending their children to school, and children have been forced to actually stay back and miss out on an education at the expense of their lives. Now, the incident with Chibok brought a lot of attention to the problem of terrorism here in Nigeria. And unfortunately, it does seem like it's a problem that continues. Now, just like Olatunbosun stated, Olatunbosun, are you back? Now, when certain acts have been ascribed to, okay, welcome back. We lost you there for a few minutes.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. I think that was a glitch in the system.
It was. But let's come back to the question I asked previously, the government's efforts. How would you rate it based on where we are, where we've been, where we're coming from, and where it looks like we're headed?
Okay. Well, currently, if I'm to rate the activities of the current government, I will want to say that I can rate them in the area ratio of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest score. Because they are still new in government and because of my interaction with people within the security hemisphere, I can rate them to be at 3 at the moment. I may be able to review that again when they are 1 year in the office to see how we can do something about the scorecard. But unfortunately, what they inherited is the spread part of the cancer of insecurity as a whole. And whatever we call banditry or terrorism has really spread away from the Sambisa forest where we think they are, or in the north, and they are now in the heart of every metropolitan city in Nigeria. So it is for terrorist attack to take place and claim lives and property in any part of Nigeria. It is a matter of when and now, not if. The effort of the police and security agencies, unfortunately, still needs to be boosted. And we need to have a clearer and better understanding of what we have on our hands. Resources need to be given to the security agencies across board to be able to face it. We do not expect a police division, which is very, very closer to the people, receiving 16,000 naira per month to maintain themselves. There is no vehicles. When there is vehicle, the vehicle are not in good condition. That's the story in most of the divisions. And I think that really, really put us on a pedestal of failure if adequate care is not taken. More needs to be done by the government. Then supervisory role. All security agencies need more supervision. I just took a journey from Lagos to Abuja yesterday by road. Yes, there are some places where there were no presence of police properly on the road. And where there are presence of police, I don't think they understand uh, the extent of the problem we have at hand, and it is beginning to affect their model operandi on the road. So if the Inspector General of Police and the NSA are listening to this, supervision of our men in the offices and on the road really need to be stepped up so that expected results can be achieved.
All right, thank you for that, Olatunbosun. The number to call 0144899981. You can also send messages via WhatsApp 0809440981. Stay with us. The conversation continues shortly. You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. We're talking about promoting peace on this International Day for the Prevention of Terrorism. Be a part of the conversation. Let us know your thoughts. The phone number to call is 0144899981, and you can also tweet at Smooth981. Right, you can also send a message via WhatsApp 0809 440 981. That is the number to send your WhatsApp messages to. Our special guest this morning is Olatunbosun Abolarinwa. He's a security analyst, and we're talking about the situation of terrorism here in Nigeria. I want to ask a question about regional cooperation or international cooperation as well. What role does this have to play, and how have we done so far with regards to this?
The only answer to that is we have an example of situation where our terrorism seems to be spreading to our neighboring countries. So there was a movement of terrorist activities between us and Niger. There was a very, very serious one between us and Cameroon too. Recently, we've not been hearing much about that. So it is either the Nigerian security forces at the border are doing the right thing, or Cameroon and Niger are doing the right thing, and that cross-border or cross-region terrorism activities has come to zero. So we need to give kudos to the government, either the government of Cameroon or the government of Niger or that of Nigeria on that. I also want to commend ECOWAS in whatever it is they have done in that area. In terms of intelligence gathering and the use of all sister agencies to ensure that our regional security cooperation or bilateral activities are top-notch, I think more needs to be done. Unfortunately now, Niger just pulled out of ECOWAS. I'm beginning to worry about what our regional cooperation against insecurity, what becomes of that? Is it going to be sustained? Is it going to be affected? Are we going to have a group of terrorists still freely moving between those borders and wreaking havoc in the border community? Those are the areas that the government of the day really needs to look at so that we prevent unnecessary and avoidable escalations from that area. Definitely, we have a very, very porous borders, and I don't think we've been able to do anything about that so far, so good. I will think that we need to start moving away from the kinetic way of protecting our territorial integrity into more advanced technology ways. So where human being on vehicle, motorcycle, and foot cannot be, I expected now that we should have a drone patrolling our borders and coming back with vital intelligence and taking care of issues for the continuation of security business. So that's what I think about your question. Hope I've been able to do justice.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. At the start of the conversation, we spoke about the extrajudicial killings that have happened in Nigeria with security forces. And this was in conversation about Mohammed Yusuf. And over the years, human rights organizations have spoken about certain acts that the Nigerian military have carried out, which violate the principles and tenets. So I wonder, how can the government effectively balance the security measures that they have to take and in the same vein, make sure that they are protecting the rights and civil liberties of these terrorists or alleged terrorists?
Okay. There is an international or global best practice to every security endeavor. There is a way a policeman is expected to behave now. There is a way a soldier or Navy or Air Force are expected to behave. And it all boils back to the point I raised earlier on. Up till today, we still have soldiers who think they can beat up people. I've seen, the course of my growing up, I've witnessed where a soldier hit somebody on the head with the butt of his gun and the person died instantly on the spot. You see, we need to really, really take care of this business of our security personnel, thinking that they are almighty the moment they put on the uniform to perform their constituted duties. Human rights initiative in Nigeria really needs to be boosted. Yes, today, in most police stations, we have the human rights officers who supervise the activities of how his colleagues handle the issues pertaining to human rights. So if you enter a police station and you think that your right has been abused, there is an office in the police station where you can actually go to and complain or ask for support. I could also praise the former Inspector General of Police, that's Solomon Arase, for introducing the complaint response unit of the Nigerian police force, where 24 hours in every languages you can complain about police, what you think police are doing wrong. But it's not only the police. Everybody wearing uniform, everybody carrying arms in the name of working for one forces in Nigeria or the other are actually violating this. Not until they attack you that they violate your human right. Start creating a checkpoint to create a gridlock on the motorway, which later costs you to stay later than you are supposed to be on the road and putting you at the risk of being robbed or being attacked or kidnapped. It's also a human rights violation. One of your points of human rights is the movement of freedoms. So if your freedom is being affected, if you are being kept on the road, if you are being attacked, if you are being killed, if you are being wounded for the rest of your life as a result of an encounter with Nigerian security agencies, those are the little human rights violations that goes a long way in damaging the image of Nigerian security agencies, damaging the image of Nigerian government, and damaging the image or damaging the trust that the people that are supposed to trust the security agencies are not being sustained. So I really, really think that the supervisory role of all the supervising agency, the Ministry of Police Affairs, the Police Service Commission, the Police Trust Fund, the Inspector General of Police Monitoring Group really needs to be on the road and on their toes going around. The military too needs to do a lot in the area of ensuring that their men are complying with human rights rule. The Nigerian Human Rights Commission too really need to up their games. By the time all these people have a well-coordinated activities against human rights abuse, and whoever that violates it is made to pay a price and not going scot-free, I think we're going to have a great turnaround for good in the area of upholding human rights of people in Nigeria. So there's need for serious supervisory and accountability.
All right. I want to ask about something that is quite controversial. Some people have their thoughts about this. Repentant Boko Haram fighters. What are your thoughts on this exactly?
I would like to ask you a question back. What is your definition of a repentant terrorist?
You're the experts.
All right, I'll answer this question. Whoever commits a crime against an individual or state is a criminal that is supposed to be prosecuted according to the Penal Code of Nigeria. That is my school of thought. I don't think that somebody should take up arms against their state or people of their state, and there will be a moment in the history of this country where those people will become repentant and be allowed to roam freely. It sends a very wrong signal. So I don't belong to that school of thought. I disagree with it totally. Yes, I support rehabilitation of criminals to change their mind to behave better, to come back after they leave the prison sentence that is given to them by the Ministry of Justice and become part of the people and live well. We've been doing that before Boko Haram. People go to prison, come back and behave well on the street. And when we have a group of blood sharing people that wreak havoc, that is affecting our lives and properties, that is affecting our economy till today, that our growth economically has been diverted to fighting them, and suddenly we come back, we call them repentant Boko Haram. I think that may have answered for some of the problems we are facing today after their repentance. What did they bring to the table? What have we gained from them? After this era of repentant terrorists, how well has the situation of Nigeria been? It means that we gained nothing from them. They are still in the forest, still fighting us. They are still changing their name, killing people every day en masse. So what did we get from that? In my opinion, if we have their details, if we have intelligence on them, I think the Ministry of Justice should still do the needful as far as they are concerned. Unless they are not really terrorists, we mistakenly accuse them of being a terrorist and we now decide to set them free. But in my dictionary, there is nothing like repentant terrorists. Before terrorism came to Nigeria, the biggest form of terrorism that hit some part of the world was the 9/11 in the United States, where people were killed, where their economies were affected. They did not forgive their terrorists, neither did they term them any repentant terrorists. They established a Guantanamo Bay, which serves as a university where terrorists go and come back and we don't hear from them again. Their minds were reformed. Where is our own? What have we really done? Who is accountable for that? Who is responsible? Can we call this person back to this kind of show and ask them to come and give account of what they've done with the so-called repentant terrorists? What has the country gained? And why are we still dying? From the period, they claim that some terrorists have repented till now. Terrorism has moved away from the forest onto our roads. Our royal fathers are being killed. Our children are still being kidnapped. Our homes are still being invaded. Currently in Abuja, terrorists don't wait for you to come out before they attack you. They are now going into housing estates to pick people up and kill you when they come. You cannot pay ransom. And now, let me quickly make a clarification about the people they call bandits. Bandits are out collecting ransoms in hundreds of millions successfully, and they are using that to fund terrorism in the forest. Who is looking at that, and how do we stop that? What is the central bank and the NSA and the Nigerian Communication Commission doing about the ability to track terrorists back to their base? Then how? Who took account of the people we call repentant terrorists? Where are they now? Can anybody come back and tell us what are their names? Where are they from? What are they doing at the moment? And can they be called to assembly? Or they have disappeared into the thin air where we have no accountability of them? People who committed offense far, far lower than theirs. Some of them are languishing in Nigerian prison now without trial. What signal are we sending to the other terrorists? So it's okay for me to take up arms against my state, kill a lot of people, then one day wake up and say, I've repented. And they take money. So that's where it seems, I disagree with that initiative. Those who practice it, I've had few discussion and debate with them to have their point. But as a Nigerian, I personally disagree with that initiative. And I think if it is still active, it should be folded up.
All right. Thank you for that. Let's go on to the phone lines. Good morning. Good morning, Saji. Go ahead, please.
Hey. Morning, Bosun. You have made a great analysis. Actually, terrorism, you have actually defined it. Terrorism comes with an idea. They have an idea they want to push forward. But in this country, terrorism, they are not terrorists. They are bandits that look for, get it, do it for money. When you spoke concerning Mohammed Yusuf, which is very true, very true. When we look at extrajudicial killing, this can come up with something that is terrible. And the aspect of Mohammed Yusuf, this was the way everything actually started to Boko Haram before they now turned into banditry. Because the aspect formerly of Boko Haram was the aspect where they were talking about Western education and the aspect where police killed their man because of the idea they had. That one is definite. But now in Nigeria, when we talk of terrorism, according to your definition, that they will have an idea and they are fighting for a purpose. Let us look at Martin Luther King. He never raised any arm or any insurgents against the state, and yet his idea was brought to pass and it was fulfilled. Look at IRA. Yes, they took up arms against the state, but then their idea now negotiation came into play. But in Nigeria here, terrorism, I don't think there are any aspect of terrorism whatsoever. All they do is banditry and criminality. They are criminals to the core, and the state is supposed to rise up to the challenge and deal with them decisively. The way they are still being pampered, the way I see, how can people say, how can you say kidnappers kidnap and now use the money for terrorism? No, they are all criminals in a nutshell. Look at the aspect of Adolf Hitler. An idea was proposed and he brought it to pass, only that it was quenched at the nick of time. So the aspect of terrorism in Nigeria, we do not have any terrorists whatsoever. They are all criminals and they should be dealt with decisively, as Bosun said. And the way we have government, people in government that are complicit, those are the people that need to be flushed out. We can't continue with this using our resources, our hard-earned resources on fighting them. They should come out, they should go all out for them and deal with them decisively. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Saji, for calling and sharing your thoughts. Tibosun, are there any countries that have had issues with terrorism and have been able to successfully manage it, or at least reduce it to a particular level where there are no more such of a problem in society? Can we learn, if there are any cases like this, can we learn from them?
Unfortunately, we may not have much to learn from Africa. We need to try and look at the Western world, how they dealt with the level of terrorism they had or they are still having. So the first thing we need to look at is the United States, which I analyzed earlier on, that when 9/11 happened, they took their ground, they stood their ground, and they made sure that such attack will not happen. Everywhere that was open was closed up. More money was given to fight it. And they took an initiative where they were able to showcase terrorists and what they can do with them after they patch in their border. United Kingdom, I was there when the 7/7 attack took place. Every arm of the government and every aspect of life were engaged to stand up against terrorism. You see, government alone cannot fight terrorism. Anti-terrorism is an initiative of government to go against terrorism to bring them down, but it only solves 30% of the problem. Counter-terrorism carries 70% solution of it. And this does not involve only the men in power, men in uniform. It is everybody's duty, starting from the lowest nursery school and crèche to the higher institution, to villages, to religious organization, and every government agency needs to have something they are doing. May I put a question through to you today? Do you have a counter-terrorism initiative in that complex where you are sitting at the moment? What has anybody come to lecture you on things you need to do? Do you see yourself as a victim, somebody who could become a victim? You are talking about terrorists now. They're not going to be happy about you or your face. Can your building be attacked? What numbers do you have on your phone that you can call if there is terrorism at work, on the road, or at home? You see, all these are things that indicates that government needs to do a lot in the area of carrying the people along, empowering the people with the ideologies that can go against the ideology of terrorism. So one of them is reindoctrination and changing the orientation of people towards insecurity generally. I don't know when last your company, you called me for interview, but you have not called me to come and do that for you as an organization. So churches need to invite us to come and do this kind of drills for them. When Ebola came, when COVID came, we saw it as a big killer that can wipe us out, and we all went through different forms of training. HIV came, we went through a lot of training to protect ourselves against it. Can you measure the initiatives and the activities you went through to deal with HIV, Ebola, COVID, compared to what you have been put through to take care of insecurity and terrorism? You will realize that you don't have any certificate of training of 2 hours. It doesn't take more than 2 hours to change the orientation of people, organizations. And we want the government, if the local government are not doing it, let the state government do it. There is power in people, plenty people, if they are trained and indoctrinated. Not only government, even the religious organization. I'm talking to NASFAT, I'm talking to CAN, I'm talking to all those beautiful estates. Now that you have fences, you have CCTVs, camera, train every resident on telltale signal of insecurity and terrorism and what they need to do. And let me ask you a question again, my dear. Do you have the number of your local DPO on your phone, either at home or in the office? Or are you waiting for the day something will come and you start calling them? The Lagos State Police Command has a control room number. Do you have it on your phone? When was the last time you called the police to give them vital information? Is our trust with the security agency interfering with the needful and civil things we need to do as citizens to meet them in the middle to counter insecurity? All these are questions that will come up in this type of 2 hours indoctrination training for people, to make people to be aware of what is happening. Everywhere is insecure now. At a site, you can be picked up. In your farm, we're talking about the increase, the spike in the price of food recently. It is simply because farmers couldn't go to farm. Don't let us deceive ourselves. The farm is no longer safe for the farmers and anybody who does not want to die. So what are the package of your state government for farmers to protect them in the farm? The federal government, Then we people, we Nigerians too, we have the Omonile syndrome in the Southwest. If anybody enter any land belonging to any family, the Omonile quickly get there fast. They are faster than the police when they move. But when terrorists enter the same land to start kidnapping your people, holding them still on the same land, we don't see Omonile coming into the forest to say, this is our land. Terrorists are taking it over. Come and help us. So there is much more to do on the part of the people too. But if the people don't know what to do, exactly what the government did during Ebola, what they did during COVID-19, what they did when HIV started, when they did what they did during the swine flu and bird flu, I think we need to do the same thing to the people, getting them, indoctrinating them, preparing them that it's no longer business as usual. If we want to live, there's something we need to do. And the earlier we start doing it, the better.
All right, this has been a very enlightening conversation. And thank you so much, Olatunbosun Abolarinwa. What are your social media handles?
Well, it's Olatunbosun Abolarinwa. It's as simple as that. That's what I have on Facebook. And, something similar on Twitter too.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Olatunbosun, for being on the show this morning. A lot of very valid points raised. And indeed, we have fire drills. We have things like that. So perhaps this should actually become a routine thing as well. Security drills, what to do, what not to do, just in case. All right. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
That is it for Lagos Talks this morning. And do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.
Everyone, don't think about that.
Thank you.